Like one of the biggest marketing companies in the world just recently made a $2.2 billion acquisition. It tells us kind of everything about where the industry is going and headed, because I think like in the 2020 era, there was this like bubble that popped where a lot of these like people who worked in agencies or firms or worked for themselves on Fiverr, Upwork, they decided, oh, this is like the best time to create a marketing agency. And then within a matter of like a handful of years, we went from like 50 some thousand agencies in the US to like 100+ thousand agencies in the US just in like 5 years. So there's just like this bubble that happened. And so these private equity firms are reaching out to all these agencies now, or even bigger agencies are acquiring smaller boutique agencies. And so like these PE firms are coming in, they're trying to roll up marketing agencies to basically go into market, collect data and AI and be able to do things like that. And so it's like really interesting how we're at this place where if you're a marketing agency owner, welcome back, everybody. It's me, Ozzy, and
Zack.
Together, we've built multiple businesses, including Advertis, where we've helped over 400, I need to change this, marketing agencies scale smarter, grow faster, and escape the chaos that most agency owners get stuck in. In each episode, we're going to break down real conversations by agency owners. These are conversations around things like sales, operation, hiring, scaling, leadership, the wins, the failures, all of it, including trending news. Publicis Groupe just acquired LiveRamp, not because they needed another agency, but because of data, AI, and the reoccurring revenue that are becoming the most valuable assets in our industry, in the marketing industry. And so today we're talking about what actually makes a marketing agency valuable and why private equity firms and holdings companies are buying agencies aggressively right now. So that's really kind of the news. As we're kind of growing into this, and we've been approached several different times from PE firms ourselves. We just can't do it. We're too married to this business. We love it too much. But Publicis Groupe, because they just recently announced that acquisition for LiveRamp, it made me actually do a deep search into who they were. And $2.2 billion that's a pretty big number, but they actually own several different companies. And it's interesting to see that a lot of these PE firms are rolling up agencies right now, but they're doing it very strategically. Like this one, I forget the brands that they own. If I had that information, that would be kind of nice to have. But basically, the way that they're building out their portfolio of companies they own is they own customer data, they're owning the infrastructure, so the processes is where they acquire agencies. They own the AI systems behind it. They own all the data, which is why they just acquired this company, Livewire. And then they can actually shift all that and turn it into one, which is amazing. And so anyways, today we want to talk to you about if you're an agency owner, this is your moment. Like you need to decide, what is your exit strategy? Is this a lifetime commitment? Like this is a lifestyle. This is what I call a lifestyle business where I'm just going to own this business until I die or give it to my kids. Like I just want it to take care of my lifestyle. Or do you want to build this company and actually build it to sell it? And so that is going to be an important, differentiator there as you're growing your business. Right now, as a marketing agency owner, is kind of that important moment in the industry to decide, because a lot of these smaller agencies are either closing their doors or they're getting bought up, and they're getting decent multipliers. And so I think one of the first talking points that I would bring up, and Zack, you can talk definitely on this, is reoccurring revenue. If you're a marketing agency owner, reoccurring revenue is what actually brings a lot of the value.
Yep.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah. The monthly recurring revenue or the annual recurring revenue, and I'll just say MRR or ARR for short, that is really what makes it very enticing for private equity groups, venture capitalists, other agency owners to scrape up, acquire, and collect other agencies, especially in different niches, right? So if there's an agency that is just niched down to HVAC companies, or just niched down to roofers or dentists, or painters, whatever it may be, is very enticing to scoop them up because of their very consistent monthly recurring revenue. Every marketing agency has churn, right? But another factor within the MRR that you get is also the sales team that can keep up the MRR, right?
Yeah.
So that those businesses, those clients, they're going to come and go as well. But if you have a sales team who's consistently hitting you with a full pipeline, following up, getting that new business that comes in, if you are just relying on referrals, right, then your agency is just not going to cut and no one's really going to want it, right? But if your agency has a full pipeline with a really strong monthly recurring revenue, that is great, right? So you kind of have to have both. And I think sometimes we like to say, well, if you just have clients that stay with you for a long time, that's good enough. No, businesses also want to acquire the sales engine that gets more business.
Well, in two, like let's say you get a buyer who's interested and then you get to the closing table and that big client that's been running most of your revenue, they fall off. That could literally end the deal. Like that, if you're just based on retention alone. But like to your point, having a predictable reoccurring revenue or a predictable pipeline because you have a sales team, you have a system in place, which is kind of our next talking point is buying systems. That is what allows you to have more value as a business because, as a PE firm or as, anyone acquiring your business, they're going to want to see, and at the end of the day, they're going to want to see your growth. They're going to want to see that you have consistency. So if you're looking to sell your agency, even if you're looking to own it as a lifestyle company, you need to have a predictable revenue. This way you can scale it as well, because there's another part of this. Even if it's a lifestyle business, you need to have predictable revenue so you can hire the right amount of talent
Yeah.
and, make sure they have a job.
Yeah.
You
And
need to be able to do that.
one side point I'd like to make is about the phrase lifestyle business. I think a lot of the gurus out there have created this picture of a lifestyle business being not only having the clients, not only have the predictable recurring revenue, but then also having like no team to manage and nobody to hire on. And that's like, that just doesn't happen. That honestly, that rarely happens where you get the clients and you sell the thing, but you don't have to sell the thing, but then you have the system to fulfill it, but then you don't have a team that you need to manage, or at least hiring out like a manager to manage those people. That's crazy. That's great. So when we say lifestyle business, like Ozzy said, I think it was very appropriate. This is a business that you can have for the entirety of your life that you can scale up or scale down according to you and your family's needs, right? Or pass on to the next generation. I think that's a very appropriate phrase for what a lifestyle business means in reality. I think there's very few businesses where you could just rock it out solo and make tons and tons and tons of money. And I know people say they see it online on social media all the time. Well, those people are working 120-hour weeks and they're not able to shut it off because they don't have anyone to delegate to.
Exactly.
Same.
Yeah. We know a lot of them actually. So sincerely though, you're not, seriously, it's definitely, it's hyped up. It's social media, guys. Like you're only seeing the glamorous sides of it. We all have been on social media long enough. We know that there's a lot of, probably nicer way to put it is just do your research. Just do your research. But that leads me to the next point. It's like, if you're a buyer, you don't want to buy someone else's job. So this is where I find a lot of, like, if you're looking to sell as an agency and you're involved in the day-to-day as an owner, your buyer is not interested in that. They don't want to have to buy a system that relies on you to run. They want to buy a system that can run itself. That's so common.
I think a really easy way to test this, like a really practical, tangible way, is to ask yourself, if I left my business, who would the buyer have to hire to replace what I do? And if the buyer would have to hire a Google ad specialist, an account manager, a billing and invoicing professional, a director of marketing, and another, and an assistant, and that's 5 people to do what you do, you don't have like a team. You don't have systems and processes that you're delegating out to leverage this. That's just you. That's all you as an agency. So no, that's not going to be enticing for a buyer. They're not going to want to buy just you as a job doing 5 other jobs. Now, if you're doing just one of those jobs, say you're just managing the people as a director level or as a C-suite level, great. They can just hire in a manager. Boom. They're on their day and that's easy.
Yep.
They just have to hire 1 or maybe 2 people. But if you're start talking about like 3 or 4 or 5 jobs just to replace your one, and you need to start working to delegate more and get yourself out there. If you're like, well, I don't have enough money, it's like, charge more. You can actually do that and sell more and get a pipeline, like focus on actually growing your business.
You mentioned there's a way to test this theory. So, if you're actively someone testing, if you're actually someone doing it the right way, meaning that Yes, as an owner, especially in the beginning of starting your business, you're gonna be in the business. Like there's no way around that, right? Zach and I we both have been in every role in Advertis and any other company we've been a part of that we've built. All those roles, we had to replace ourselves, right? And so as a business owner, that's your job. Your job is to come in, learn the role, replace yourself, go hire someone to do the role. Next role up, do the same thing. Sometimes you may have to do a lateral move. Hey, I got to go over to account management versus sales, like figure that out now. And so like it is common, but you do get to a point where you work yourself to the top of the ladder and you're like, okay, now I got to either sell or I got to let this person come in and run it. It's up to you and how you want to build that. But a great way to test that is when you're at that leadership level, that senior leadership level, take a hiatus. Go on vacation for 30 days, see how the business runs without you. Leave for 2 weeks. There's really a couple questions to ask yourself. Can the business grow without me? Can the business run without me? If they could do those two things, then you're in good shape. And that's setting you up for success for both selling and for having a
Yeah.
lifestyle business.
Yeah. And I would argue most agencies are still working towards the can it run without me? And then the better agencies, it can run without them, but can it grow without them? Do they have a sales team? Do they have people that can sell on your behalf without you having to be a part of every single sales call or scoping? Those are definitely two really big questions. And that's what you should be working towards is like this decision I'm gonna make in my agency. If this helps it run without me, great. Now that it runs without me, can it help grow without me? Great.
And you know, I think the last kind of talking point when it comes to, we're not last, but I would say one of the other talking points that brings value to your agency if you're looking to sell is related to the data. So obviously we all know, we've talked about this on several shows, AI is coming into our market, whether we like it or not. Get over it. It's coming and you got to innovate. Just like when the smartphone came, you got to innovate, like whatever. We have to innovate. And so you have AI coming in to help make systems more efficient, help people be more like actually focused on the relationship side of the business. And then the data. So when you combine AI and data, that is becoming one of the most valuable assets. And one of the reasons why I brought up Publicis Group acquiring LiveWire is because that's the whole reason why they acquired them for $2.2 billion because data is big, data is massive, and AI is helping facilitate that. And so when you have both of those together and you are doing things like running ads, the value of your agency is tenfold when you have both AI and data combined, because now you can take any business model and basically scale their ads, scale their SEO, anything based on those AI and data. And so that's kind of something, I think when you talk about a marketing agency that's slowly evolving into the data and tech side, they become a data tech company who just so happens to run ads, basically.
Yes, right. Well, and that's the value of especially niching down, working on those larger campaigns. If you're spending, $500,000 a month for ginormous nationwide HVAC companies, roofing companies, solar-based companies, right? And then you attract other competitors in those same spaces, they will also spend that much money with you. And then all of a sudden you find that you're working with these top tier brands in these really boring business models that have hundreds of locations across the country. And that data from running those campaigns can then be leveraged for when you're running other campaigns for future clientele within similar or adjacent base industries. Basically, depending on, are you still targeting the same target audience? It doesn't have to be home service based businesses, but it's kind of a easy connection point where if you're doing and running ads for like a garage door company, and then you're running the same ads for like a nationwide painting company, you're probably both targeting homeowners. And you're probably both targeting homeowners in a certain bracket, and you're probably targeting them within similar locations. Just different services, right? But very similar audience. And that kind of data compounds, right? When you do these types of acquisitions.
Yeah, it's funny. It's like, that's another reason why PE firms are buying up agencies is like a PE firm can come in and buy a single agency. They can use that agency not only to like scale into a niche, very specific, if that agency niches to home services, like you're saying, they can, if they own a portfolio of home service based companies, now they get to do all their advertising with that data, but also at sunk cost. So it's like just so much easier to scale. And I think that's why PE firms like kind of seeing the writing on the wall. And they were like, oh, I'm just acquiring data more than I'm acquiring the business itself. And then I can scale my other companies, my other portfolios with that. I know several PE firms that we've talked to in the past just for partnership opportunities and stuff. They said that when they were rolling up agencies. And that's it. Like if you're a marketing agency owner, PE firms are going to be reaching out if you're doing a certain revenue. Like they're loving acquiring marketing agencies right now. And I've seen like multipliers like 4 to 6x, like easy. And that's unheard of in this industry, by the way. It used to be the average. What was the average, Zach? Like 1.5, 2.5.
I think the average was like maybe 2 to 3 if you were lucky.
Yeah. And that's so now that the data is on that, between data and system, like having systemized processes, one of the things that I noticed with a lot of agencies, not all agencies, by the way, but a lot of agencies is they have scalable margins. So like the cost to run an agency is not as high if it's done correctly. It's you can have higher margins. And then if you have predictable cash flow and you have a sales team actually bringing in top of funnel and you have consistent cash flow from your sales, then it's like you have a really good, strong business that you've built. And then now you have AI introduced in the systems and you have data. It's like that's how you get those value points. And so essentially the agencies that are getting acquired, they're not always the biggest agencies, but they're usually the most predictable.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of how I would kind of share. If you can look at your agency and say, I can take a 30-day break and know that when I come back, my business is going to still continue to grow without me and it's going to continue to run without me. You may have to put some little fires out because of your own nuances. I'll call Zack out. Zack he's very delicate in how he wants to handle the operation side of his business because he loves it so much. Now that's different. That's, any owner can come in and find problems in their business. That's normal. But as long as it's still hitting that 80% or better, you're in good shape.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. That's a really good point. It doesn't have to be an all or nothing mentality, but I mean, if it gives you heart palpitations to think about taking a 2-week vacation, you just know of all the work that's on the other side of you. And then, yeah, that would suck.
Yeah. And so I think the biggest takeaway from all of this is pretty simple. The agency industry is changing and it's changing fast. The agencies that build predictable revenue, strong systems, retention, AI systems, AI adoption, rather, operational efficiency are the ones becoming truly valuable. And honestly, that's the real shift that's happening right now. And so if you're an agency owner, agencies are no longer being valued just for creativity. Creativity is, unfortunately, that is becoming more and more of what's being leveraged with AI. And instead, it's like they're being valued more for infrastructure, the scalability of in the data and the predictability of their growth. And so if you're that agency owner, again, the question you should ask yourself is, am I building a business that only creates income or am I building a business that someone would actually want to buy that's predictable? So thank you all so much for being here. We're excited to continue to give you more insights into this industry and how you can grow and scale your agency. If you're a small agency owner or you're a large agency owner, I hope that we can bring you some value. So thank you for subscribing to us. We'll see you next week when we're probably going to talk about more of what's happening in the industry.